Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Howell, and today I'm going to be your Zero Trust guide. I've been in the security industry now for about 20 years, and one thing that frustrates me, like many of you, is the need for the industry to throw buzzwords out there that don't really have much context. Well, Zero Trust in itself is that new buzzword, the hot buzzword, but there actually is some context behind it and real good content as well. So today I'm going to spend some time walking through your questions and comments from Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit, and give you my feedback and direction as to what really is happening with Zero Trust today. So let's get started, and we'll get through them as quickly as possible. Here's a good one. Am I the only one having a hard time to find detailed architecture diagrams to achieve a Zero Trust infrastructure? And if anybody has any good resources or knows technology used for it, please share. Architecture in itself is a pretty simple thing from a Zero Trust point of view. And the biggest piece of information I can give anyone, the biggest tip I can give you, is consider segmentation. Zero Trust is not just about blindly applying controls. You need to segment and apply controls in the right place at the right time to the right sort of resources. To further double down on this architecture conversation, Zero Trust is not just about a network, it's much more than that. You need to consider the basic fundamentals, which is getting users to apps. So you'll need to understand those user bases and the application spaces. If you can understand those two, how an application needs to be accessed by a user, and connect those two together, then you can start to build out an architecture path. But an architecture path is not necessarily going to be one size fits all. It's going to be specific for each individual environment. We could talk about this for a couple of hours, I'm sure, and we'll do that as we progress over these questions and move forward. So this one is actually quite funny because it plays in a bit to my life as well. The video on YouTube called "My Last Girlfriend and I Had a Zero Trust Relationship." But no, jokes aside, if you look at it in terms of not being exposed and not sharing information about yourself in the personal world, when I moved into my new house with my wife, we set up everything, of course, and I just quickly built a wireless network. And my wife, who'd been listening to me on phone calls for the last few years about Zero Trust, asked me why the wireless network was exposed. Why could anyone see it? She made a good point. The SSID shouldn't be advertised to anybody. I just built it, quick and simple. So my wife now started calling out to me how to do Zero Trust properly. So I think it's a mindset, and it's certainly a way of considering your world, is how do you go about your life without exposing everything about yourself to the open internet or the open world. And one of the kind of ways I like to look at this is a traditional network is essentially very much like a social network. Anyone can you connect with, anyone who's part of your so-called network can see what you're up to. So what about networks that are very selective and very private? Think more along the lines of signal messaging, where you have a certain level of trust you have to build up about yourself before you can actually connect to somebody else, and so forth. So that initial building up of trust is required for you to interact with that environment. And I think that's the world we need to live in. Is yes, we need to share information, but we need to do it in a Zero Trust mindset. Don't expose it to the whole world, only expose it to those you want to, rather than broadcast. You're very specifically targeting who gets access to what and who you're sharing things with. All right, we're gonna move on to the next question. This is also coming in from Reddit. And this is a good one, actually. It says, my favorite companies are the ones who want to do Zero Trust, but still haven't turned on host firewalls. And that's a really, really good point, because if you look at this in its entirety, Zero Trust is not a product. It's not. But most people tend to throw Zero Trust on a brand, especially brand manufacturers. So the poster here is talking about doing host firewalling. Host firewalling is the base level stuff for protection before you even get into anything complicated on a network or an access path. So yes, protecting the host where the user is residing, or for example, the application is residing, is critical as well. So the poster here makes a very good point. Zero Trust is also not binary. It's not going to be something you turn on or turn off and then you're done. Zero Trust is a process that takes time. All right, I think we've come to a really natural ending there. Look, I'd like to thank everybody for your questions. And actually, honestly, should you have any further questions or comments, don't be afraid to ask them in the comments below, and I will maybe include you in the next episode. So with that being said, once again, thank you everybody. I've been Nathan Howell. It's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to doing this again with you all. So see you next time. Thanks, bye-bye.